What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics podcast. First and foremost, I guess, folks, I would like to apologize for my little bit of a slow start to 2024, but as you guys can see and are well aware, the podcast rebranding to the Canadian Football Fanatics. I've been a little busy behind the scenes working through a new logo, kind of shifting the podcast focus a little bit, as well as recharging the batteries and kind of getting ready for a good busy spring going into the Canadian football season. Quick couple shout outs before we get into my first guest of the 2024 season. First and foremost, as always, Blake, co-host on the podcast here, will be joining me on all the live streams on the channel. And then as well, Shane Ray from 13th Man Sports for allowing me to contribute a little bit to his website. Hopefully looking forward to doing a lot of Canada West articles and pieces this upcoming fall, and as well maybe a little bit of CFL type articles as well. So stay tuned. You guys can go check out a few of my articles that came out to end last season. My last one on the Vanier Cup specifically. And then as well, Mackenzie Dunford, shout out to him for obviously creating the logo that you guys are well aware by now with the Canadian Football Fanatics podcast. So, as we wanted to officially rebrand the podcast and shift our focus into more youth sports football, specifically on the Canada West side of things, I wanted to kick things off right there in the Canada West. So my next guest is a youth sports All-Canadian. He was the 2023 Canada West Player of the Year, running back for the University of the Alberta Golden Bears, Matthew Peterson. Matthew, thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, man. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome, man. So like I was saying, no better place to kick off the Canada West focus that I really want to shift towards with than yourself, the Canada West Football Player of the Year, Canada West All-Star. Had yourself quite the phenomenal season this year. I was able to take in the Hardy Cup this year. So I was able to see you up close and personal. I guess just first and foremost, how can you what would you say kind of to maybe summarize your season coming off last season?
Yeah, no, like last season, dude, I ended up getting pretty banged up and ended up getting a high ankle sprain in I think the second game of the year. Yeah, in the second game. So it took me out for pretty much 4 weeks, and then I ended up coming back right after bye week against Calgary. And yeah, just kept getting it re-rolled, and I just like towards the end of the year, I was banged up, and I was kind of on one leg, and so yeah, no, just like how to take a chip on my shoulder, how to put that chip on my shoulder, and my thought process was throughout this whole off season was just like everyone's gonna finally like experience what Matthew Peterson is about, and everyone's going to feel what 100% what Matthew Peterson is like at 100%, and that's what my goal was, and so I from game one was just a little warm up just because we missed our preseason game against UBC in August, unfortunately due to the fires down there, down in down there, and so just like first game was kind of a warm up. It was a good game. Of course, like I hold myself to a certain standard, and just like it wasn't up to my standard, but second game came around and I started getting hot, and so that's when I started taking off, and I started playing my game, and it's not just myself, like I always give credit where credit is due, and credit to my old line, because man, like without them I wouldn't be seeing the crevices, I wouldn't be seeing the creases that I am, and that without them, man, none of my runs are possible. And even shout out to the receiving core, because man, the way they block downfield, like you don't necessarily see that in any other school. Like you have Kobe Herford that comes around and floats and hits someone from coming 20 yards away from them, and shout out to him, because players like that, like you don't go as far without them, and so just being able to with them being able to make that impact this year, it was fun, and like that's what made my season so different than last year's. Yes, I was healthy, but I was also having fun, and like not just playing for myself either. I was playing for the guys beside me and knowing that they were putting in the same work as me, but being able to push them to that next level, just like they were pushing me. And so, yeah, it was a fun season, and that's the way we approached it. We approached it as, we were going to all like everyone on the team is going to make an impact. We're all going to play for each other, and we're going to make it fun, and we're going to have fun winning. And I think that's what made a difference this year with my season and everyone else's.
Awesome, man. So one more quick shout out as well for kind of helping set all this interview up here is shout out to Coach Jordan, obviously helping me get in contact with you. Super helpful in creating this and setting this episode up today. So let's take things back a little bit, Matthew, and kind of bring it back to the beginning. And can you maybe tell us a little bit about when your football journey started? Maybe how old you were, like what position were you? Were you always a running back, or maybe were you like that early age where you played center or offensive line or something like that, and you kind of shifted towards running back at a later age? And if I don't know if I was crazy or not when I saw this, but your dad was maybe a player or something like that, and maybe introduced you to the game.
Yeah. So I was introduced to football at 3 years old. My dad was a former running back at Dana College in Nebraska, a little small school, and I believe he was fortunate enough to become a player in the NFL for about a preseason, I believe. But that's what I've supposedly have heard. But but for sure he was a Dana College running back there, and I got introduced. Fortunately, I was in the States actually, because I'm from the States originally, so I'm not from Canada.
Okay.
My whole family's from the States, so I moved up to Canada when I was around 5 years old. So within those 2 years, I was playing flag. Well, at 4 years old, I was playing flag, and then up here took 2 years off just because we were new to the country and everything like that. So we had to figure out where we were living and my mom and my dad's jobs, and so I was able to pick up tackle football at 8 years old in Brooks, Alberta, and it was the Pee Wee League that I got to play. And the first thing I did was I played running back. Fortunate enough to learn from a high level athlete. And being able to learn from my mentor. I kind of just picked it up naturally. And so I picked up that ball and I started running with it. Also played linebacker. You had to be versatile, and at this day and age, it shows for football. You have to be versatile as a player. You can't always play running back. You won't always get to be a linebacker. You have to play special teams sometimes. You have to be able to go down and cover and tackle. So, I had to be versatile so then I could further my career. You know what I'm saying, at a young age. And so I was playing for the Pee Wee League from the age of 8 to, I would say, 10 in Brooks. And then I had moved back down to the States with my father in 2012. And I take that back, in 2011. And in 2012, I began my Pop Warner hiatus, you could say, or Pop Warner career in Clarion, Iowa. And I was down there playing in their little league, which was fun because, you get to play you don't get to see just like the Canadian game and how Canadians play. You get to see that different culture at a different age than you would be at like a young age at 5 or 4, because now you're playing tackle football where you're getting introduced in middle school and junior high. And so like, you get to see the different play styles, and you get to see the different culture around there, which is very fun. So, I played around there from grade 5. So 2011 to 2014. So I played there. And then in 2015, I had moved back up to Canada, where I had played for the Brooks Roadrunners, so their junior high team, for only a year. So that would have been my grade 9. And it was cool. It was cool because now I get to show what I've learned and what I've developed back up to Canada, and being able to like be competitive and I was competitive in the States as well, but just like show that there's more to this game. And so I was able to show my skills off in grade 9. Was fortunate enough to play in the Sanford All-Star game, where I further showed my skills. And then that summer, I ended up making the Alberta Summer Games team for Zone 1, the Sunny South, which was coached by Brad Brown and Jared Hofer. And Jared Hofer was my my grade 9 coach and high school coach from grade 11 to 12. So I was fortunate enough to play with them, and I was able to show off my skills and develop them even more. So from that, I was able to show off in my games, my skill set and, my versatility, and that granted me the opportunity to make U16 Team Alberta. So being able to make that was like a big step in being able to, develop that much more as a player from even that much higher of level of coaches is very cool, because like not many kids make that team, and so me being me I was very fortunate enough to take that in and be very thankful for the opportunity I'd gotten from that. And so we went down and we played in the States at the International Bowl. So it was like cool to go back down to the States and show that I can play like both, not just like Canadian ball but American ball, and I can not just play in Canada. I can hang in America as well, at a high school age. And so it was cool to go down there, and we ended up beating America, which was very cool. It was kind of like a flex, in my school. I had all my stuff on, had my ring, and I was like, I was showing off. I went down to America and beat America. I mean, who else gets to do that, right? You don't get any better. So I was I was happy, and not just being able to do that, but just like show that, like at this level, like Canadians can play, and it's not just Canadians, but Albertans can play. And so it was very cool to go down there and do that. And then throughout that process, we had held a mini camp. So we had done a mini camp to make the top 100 for the U18 Team Alberta, which was in 2017. Yep, was in 2017 at Acadia out there in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. So I was able to, show my skills off to make that team, or make that selection of the top 100. So to further progress up to make that team. And so we had held a couple mini camps every month for the U18, and throughout that process, I was able to further develop as always. And just being very fortunate enough to crack that team as well. And at a young age, because I mean, you're looking at kids that were a year older than you making that team, and people, you would think that would be more deserving of it than you to make that team. But again, I kind of took it with a chip on my shoulder, and I was like, if I don't believe I'm the best, and if I don't have that confidence in myself, and if I don't bet on myself to make this team and to show that I'm deserving to make this team, then if I don't believe in that, then no one else will. You know what I mean? If no one else, and so I just kind of again took that chip on my shoulder and was like, you know what? Even though I'm underage, I'm gonna attack this, and with that mindset. And very very fortunate enough to play for that team, and went up to Nova Scotia. Got placed, I think, 4th at that tournament, which sucked because we were very close against Quebec. We lost by 1, so it came down to 10 seconds on the board, and they got us, man, and it broke my heart. But again, it just fueled just add fuel to the fire, And so the next year, I came back and went through the tryouts again and made U18 Team Alberta again. And both my U18 years, just to throw this in there, was coached by Christopher Morris. So my college coach right now, so the university coach right now at the U of A, he was coaching those my two U18 teams. So I was fortunate enough to get to know him at a young age, and not just get to know him, but be able to play for him and to understand his coaching, and to it's not many people can say they know Christopher Morris, Edmonton legend. So it was cool. It was my first like experience, being around pro athlete, and not just a pro athlete, but a very elite pro athlete. And so it was very cool for that. But yeah, so going back to U18 in 2018, I was fortunate to make that team, and that was held in Calgary. And of course, and again, like I always attack the game with vengeance. I'm always attacking the game with vengeance. I always play the game with a chip on my shoulder. And losing to Quebec and being compared to, I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to be mean or anything, but like being compared to Nova Scotia and being compared to New Brunswick really made me upset. And I was like, we don't deserve to be compared to anyone. Alberta is its own entity. BC's their own entity. So is Nova Scotia and the Maritimes. And I was like, you don't compare anyone to anyone. So he's like, and I was like, so I'm gonna show him, and attack that tournament with some vengeance, and ended up being able to get the chance to represent Canada, U18 Team Canada, from going out there and showing my butt off and being able to play. And yeah, so it was cool because made Team Canada. We traveled down to Texas and had a week full of practices down there, which is very cool. Like not many people can skip a whole week of school and go and focus on football and play football. That's heaven. That's heaven right there. And especially in a high school kid, you're like, I'm going to Texas to play football, where football is legit the staple. You know what I mean? And where it's like where all the fans are, and people don't get the chance to say they're going to play in AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys are. Not a lot of it makes you feel like a cowboy, and so it was kind of cool. So I got to go down there, have the week of practices. It was cool to get to know people from other provinces, become friends with them, talk to them about their journey and about themselves and about football itself. And yeah, so played there. Ended up losing, which was, it crushes your soul, it crushes your heart. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, you don't get many opportunities, or not many people get an opportunity to put on the red and white and to say they represent Canada. And so, I took that in, and it was a great learning experience. And yeah, and then today, from then on, I committed to the U of A, and today here I am.
So first and foremost, I'm curious. I believe you mentioned that you came back kind of going into high school or middle school, I believe, in Alberta around your grade 9 year. Obviously, now you're pretty talented and very skilled if you're making these Team Alberta and then representing Team Canada. Did you notice that kind of 3 years or whatever it was down in Iowa really kind of allow you to get a head start on a lot of these kids up here? And maybe when you came back, the game, you'll hear a lot of people say the game slows down for me, right? Maybe when you came back, you felt like the game was really slow for you and you were really able to excel. Did you think that really paid dividends for your kind of journey early on in your career?
Yeah, it was because even like when I was in Brooks, like I was still pretty good, and I was still good at my age. And it was like when I went down there, football is a staple. And so, like you have very good football players, and you have that culture where, like I'm a dog, rah, rah, you know what I mean? And, when I first went down there, I remember kids coming up to me and saying, hey, like, so and so we're the best on the team, and it's going to be hard to it's going to be hard to get past us, and this and that. But like my grade 6 year, we had like a league full of like 4 teams, I believe, or 5 teams, and so we were all playing against each other, and yeah, so like it was that culture where it was like the best play, you know what I'm saying, and if you're not the best, then you're over there on the bench, or you get made fun of. You're the water boy. You know what I mean? And it hits you at a young age down there. Where like up here in Canada, it's inclusive to the point where everyone plays. You know what I mean? And even though you're not at a certain skill level or you're not known yet, you you're a water boy or someone like that. And so, having that experience where, kids are coming up to me telling me rah rah, they're so and so and they're the best, and I'm gonna feel it come practice and everything like that. Like it was, it was cool because it was like, okay, now it's like now I'm getting competitive with, a different culture of football, and so I mean being a part of that and being able to show that, I can play down there and not just play, but being able to perform at a high level definitely gave me a little edge up here, just because, I came up here now with that chip on my shoulder of always being overlooked, always not being seen as good enough. And I believe that a lot of Canadians feel that way not just at a young age, but at this level, you know what I mean? And not just feel that way, but it's hard when you're competing against Americans, you know what I mean? But you have to be at that level to really show out. And so it gives you that really it gave me that competitive edge and gave me that, I'm gonna say, mentality of like a dog eat dog world at a young age of 10 or 11, than coming up here and learning that at a later age, I believe, you know?
Yes. So you're talking about, kind of the football culture down there, and then it seems like you played in quite the atmospheres going down to AT&T Stadium and all that stuff. I'm curious, for myself, not really having the greatest high school kind of football atmosphere at my high school, unfortunately for me. I'm curious, you're obviously, your hometown for Canada is Brooks, Alberta. You went to Brooks Composite High School. I'm curious, throughout your high school, how was kind of maybe your atmospheres during games? Was there like, I tend to kind of compare mine to, the one game a year that maybe you get to play at like noon, where the whole school gets to come out, and then as soon as the bell goes, everybody just leaves, and it's like back to, the 4 or 5 parents that are watching, and kind of nobody really, gives too much, doesn't really care too much about football, at least. They like to, watch their other like basketball, volleyball, their indoor sports. And then obviously being in Canada, it's a hockey world up here. How was your high school experience wise, kind of, with the atmosphere, people coming out to maybe watch you, Friday Night Lights, anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah. The football world in Brooks, it's a little bit smaller, but it's growing in numbers. So it's like you mentioned, like Canada is a hockey is hockey, and so is Brooks, and rightfully so. They have one of the best. I think it's like AJHL hockey teams in Canada. So I mean, like rightfully so. But no, our games didn't bring out the crowd that you would necessarily see in like Calgary or anything like that. Just being from like a smaller community, but we didn't bring out that many. I would say like that many fans either, just because it was football, and it being overshadowed by hockey. But being said, we did have some games where a lot of people came out, and that's for our provincial games where they showed a lot of support. Always always parents, showing love. Even kids from the school come and show out, and so it would be you would have some crowds here and there, but um, for some games, not so much. But even then, it's just a part of football, and so it's hard to compete with hockey, you could say. But no, we made do, and it wasn't. it wasn't glum, that we didn't have any fans as much as, probably the other sports did or anything like that. But it was fun. It was fun to play in front of the people we did and to be able to perform in front of the people we did. And like, especially myself, being able to show my skills in front of, all the families in Brooks and everything like that, and showing them that, not just, hockey players can make it out, but you can do so making it with a different sport like football. And so it was very cool to show that and to perform in front of them. And even though, like I said, we didn't bring out the biggest crowd, it was always fun to play for them.
Personally, I am a good Canadian. I do enjoy my hockey, but football will never, take over Canadians' hearts the way that hockey does. I think it is growing, and I think the culture is continuing to grow and get better. You're seeing it with, the 7-on-7s and stuff like that starting to grow and grow more in areas around Canada. So the sport is growing, but it never will be hockey, and that's all good with me. But kind of fast forwarding to back to what you're talking about with Team Alberta, Team Canada. I'm curious, what did you take away from those experiences? You talked about when you went down to the States and you kind of were, the competitiveness of some of those, maybe veterans, if you want to call them back then, little leagues, saying, I'm the guy on this team. You're going to have to, go through me. I feel like Team Alberta, Team Canada, maybe it's some of the same where you're competing against the best of, Alberta and the best of Canada / down in America. Did you kind of feel like maybe it's, the famous saying of, iron sharpens iron, where you're really able to, go against some of these guys. And then when you come back to your Brooks team and stuff like that, you're really able to showcase what you really took away from, say a running back from Quebec that you played with in Team Canada or whatever. How did you kind of, what did you take away from those experiences?
I always say iron sharpens iron, and like, I strongly believe that. And so that's what I truthfully like took away from that was like, if I'm able to pick up on cues from a high level linebacker that had made the same team as me, and like being able to show that I can pick up on cues and be able to, block him, or being able to run a route on him, and show that like I took that type of stuff away, where it was just like it leveled up my game. So if I'm able to do that, it'll progress my high school career. And so like making those teams, it was like being able to compete against the best. It goes a mile. You know what I mean? And I always advocate, always try out for provincial teams. Always try out for Team Canada. Always go to camps, because you get better. And if you're not getting better, then you won't see the progress that you want to make. And so it was from me doing that, I was able to take away different skill sets. Like you wouldn't in Brooks necessarily, you wouldn't be able to see, a good pass pro or a good pass set, or being able to run routes as a running back. It's when you go to camps and when you make these teams and you're able to play with high level players, you get to take away all that knowledge and then apply it. Where if you don't, then you necessarily won't be able to perform to get yourself seen. And so like it was it was cool for me to take all that away to develop as a player, but also come back with the knowledge, not just to play at a high level, but also help my team. And so like, it's when I say iron sharpens iron, I mean, I took it like you have to be able to be the one to also come out and, be the one to sharpen other people's blades. You know what I mean? So, we're always out there at practice having one-on-ones, and I'm out there a linebacker, because again, I was playing linebacker in high school, and I played linebacker, I believe just as good as I could running back. So I mean, like I could cover and everything like that. So, I was out there covering my teammates and, playing running back and running routes on them. And at the end of the day, it made them better. You know what I mean? And so like, it was cool to not just see my development and not just be able to perform and to perform at a high level, but to also bring people to a level where, they're able to perform at their best, and see that their development is also brought from not being able to play as good to being very good. You know what I mean? And being able to play your position and shut it down. So I mean, like, it was very cool to make those teams and develop, but also show the development and also help develop the team to be at a different standard.
Yeah. So you mentioned playing for Coach Morris for Team Alberta. Before we get into, I believe you actually ended up committing to U of A a little bit earlier than kind of expected. But before we get into that, is there any stories were there any other visits, commits? Were there any other teams that were interested, or were you kind of with Coach Morris and U of A all the way?
So I didn't take any of my visits. I was talking to several other schools in Cam West and out east. And it was something that caught my attention at the U of A. They've been known as, losers, and they've been seen in that that light of, like, you don't want to go there. All you're gonna do is lose, and like, you don't go, you go there and you don't develop and stuff like that. And so that's what caught my eye at such a early time. And but yeah, regarding other schools, I didn't really like I said, I didn't take any visits. And the conversations were here and there. I got a couple phone calls, talked on the phone, of course, and didn't really like, I would say, connect as much. But that's just part of the recruiting process, and yeah. So going on to, like, to signing at the U of A, yeah, just like I saw like other schools, they're winners, and you can put your name to winning and everything like that. But I also wanted to build a legacy as well. Like, you it's not every day you get to come in and help build a team from the ground up, and not just like help the team, but be a part of change, and like change the culture. And so yeah, just like that's one of the things that, like, really caught my eye. And so I was like, like, I've been looked at my whole life, as a loser. I've been looked at my life as, as someone that's not going to go that far, as, like, someone that isn't going to be able to be one of the best. And so, I wanted to take that in, and I saw that in this program, and so I was, and, fortunate enough to play for Coach Morris, and be able to learn from his coaching style, be able, to, he's like-minded, and like, he's like-minded. And so I sat there, and, I swayed my decision very early, because, like I told you, you can go ahead and win, but I wanted to build a legacy. I wanted to build a culture, and I saw Nicky win the head Creighton, and, I was like, if you're winning that there, and, and you can definitely do it in the future too. So, I mean, of course I had personal goals, but also I just wanted to be a part of a program that I can help build, and so being able to come in with that 2019 class, it was cool, because we went from, I believe the record the previous year was like 2-6. So, a record where you're not winning, you're coming in, and then you go in 4-4 and you go even. So then you see already in a few months, over a course of a year, the culture change that you already bring, and not just the culture, but the skill that you bring. And so that's what really kind of caught my eye at the U of A.
Yeah, man. So you talking about Coach Morris? Seems like you guys grew a connection pretty early on there. I'm curious, 3-time Grey Cup champion, professional, leader of men, leader of young men. What does Coach Morris mean to the U of A? What does he mean to you? Obviously, this past season, you guys had the first winning season, I believe, in his tenure, first playoff win as well. What does Coach Morris mean to you and the program?
Man, for the program, like, he means everything to us. We do everything for Coach Morris. Like, I truly believe he's our rock. He's our rock, and like, you know, he he means a lot to us. And so, being able to not just play for him, but just being able to perform what he coaches and being able to exude what he coaches, it's special. And so for myself, I mean, like, man, he's one of my mentors. He not just makes you a better football player. He makes you a better person. And I mean, like, he's made me such a different person just because he has led me in a positive way, and he's a positive influence on my life. And man, he means, I'll do anything for that man. I'll do anything for Christopher Morris. I really will. He's my man. Yeah, like, and being able to help bring him his first playoff home game and win. I mean, that's that's special to me, and again, like I told you about the legacy part, it adds on to his legacy, to know that he brought a home playoff game, and not just brought it home, but being able to win it, and go to the Hardy Cup. So I mean, it adds on to his legacy, but it's nice to be a part of his legacy.
Yeah, man, super cool. So 2019, you go to the U of A. You're actually a part of, I believe, Carter O'Donnell's last season with the U of A, undrafted free agent into the NFL. Another good Alberta boy. You guys have, a little bit of success on the field, right? I believe you guys were about 500 that season. You're able to touch the ball a little bit. I want to see you had like about 60 or something carries. Your first two seasons with the U of A. You guys have some success during the regular season. I believe make it into the playoffs, but then end up having some first round exits in the Canada West semifinals. How did it feel to kind of start to gain some traction with winning on the field, having feeling and grabbing that success, but then kind of coming up short in the playoffs, and did that kind of motivate you guys going forward that what, we're going to finish this the right way and hopefully get a playoff win here there in the next few years?
Yeah, no, like, over those course of years, being young, and getting a little taste of playoff football, it definitely, again, added a little fuel to the fire. And losing, it always sucks losing, but you always learn, you know what I mean? So, going through those playoff games where you're traveling and you're going into a hostile place, but not just going to a hostile place and playing, but you unfortunately you lose. So like, the team definitely came around that and came together, and over the past few years, and definitely has rallied. And even unfortunately, like last year when we had exited when we weren't even able to make the playoffs, like it was tough because it was like we all fight for that right, you know what I mean? And unfortunately it didn't happen. And again, like, football is a game of lessons. You learn your lesson. And so like, when you become seasoned, at that like pretty young age of playoff football, you start to get that I'm going to say bite. You start to get that want, and you already get a taste of it. You're already halfway there, and all you need is to win. So, it starts to add that fuel to the fire and that urgency to win. And so it definitely over the course of a few years, and as like we've all come together, and want the same outcome, is like it made it very urgent for us. And especially this past year, being able to play for my brother, Jonathan Rosary, being able to play for Morgan Runge and Riley Safransky, being able to play for those guys, like, and even Quado Bohan, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, but even playing for him, like when you guys have come in and you guys have spent 4 years together and you've already kind of built that playoff experience, and I'm gonna say that just that collective thought of winning in the playoffs. When you start to gain that, you know, it makes it that much more. Again, I can't get off the word, but urgent for us, And so this past year, when you're winning, when you're losing out of the playoffs, when you're not making the playoffs, and when you don't get the chance to probably play with those boys again, when you don't get a chance to play with your boys again, like it became very clear to us that we have to win, and we have to, and we have to do our jobs and ensure to win.
Yeah, so we're gonna skip over the entire 2020 whole negative COVID situation because I've said it a few times on the podcast. Unfortunately for me, I was lucky enough not to having to go through any of those stoppages and stuff like that. My career ending in 2019, but for a lot of you guys having to interrupt your careers in the middle of pandemic, I couldn't imagine what you guys had to go through. You obviously come out on the better side of that, and obviously didn't sit around and kind of mope the fact that we were in a world global pandemic. Excuse me. You chose to obviously get better, and then going into that 2021 season, I believe you kind of started to take over the backfield. I want to say you got over around 100 carries and stuff like that. Your yards per carry went up, and then I believe you ended up with 6 touchdowns that season. Was it nice for you to kind of feel some individual success as well?
Yeah, it was. It was like COVID was very tough on all of us, and like you mentioned, like it was hard because I wasn't able to get a gym or access to a gym for for months, and so it was hard for us, and I did everything I could. I was running hills, I was doing like 1,000 push-ups a day, just trying to, trying to get better and just trying to develop with what I could. And so yeah, like that summer that helped me a lot. And so coming in, it helped me throughout camp, just showing that I can compete, and and I've become a better back, and it was cool because when you start to become more when you become a bigger part of the system, you start to get more touches, so you start to get more bigger plays, and fortunate enough, you start to score more touchdowns, and it makes you feel good. So yeah, it was like the individual success, it was like it was very it was very cool. It was very cool. I'm it, I'm hard. I don't really, I shy away from the limelight. I'm not very big on my personal successes and like my awards, but yeah, no, it was cool. It was it was nice because you're known as, yes, like a football player in Brooks and everything like that, but then like when you come up here and you were able to compete, at the university level, it's like, yeah, like it's like I'm here, and I'm able to perform at this level, and it was cool. So yeah. Oh, sorry, you're muted. I can't hear you.
There we go. Thank you, Matthew. Excuse me. So you talk about, the success you guys had 2019, 2021, and then you guys get into 2022, end up coming just short of the playoffs, but that's not due to, lack of effort, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. You guys, looking through your guys' schedule results, I believe, of that season, you guys ended up kind of, if I'm not mistaken, I believe splitting with almost everybody in the Canada West, with winning one and losing one versus a lot of teams. Then I believe, not knowing for sure if that last week versus UBC was for a final playoff spot or not, but just coming up short, one win away from the playoff bar. I guess how motivating, how frustrating was 2022, and then kind of did you use that going into 2023 offseason?
Yeah, so it was 2022 was a hard season for us. A lot of our key players were injured, so I believe it was roughly around like 14 or 17 of our starters were down. And so it was tough because you don't, yes, we're splitting games, but we're not being able to like perform at our best, right? And even when our best are down or our best are limping, we still have younger guys filling in those roles, and we were able to still perform enough to you know win and everything like that. And it was and able to even like go against UBC, and that was a playoff hopefully birth game. But like we won the game. We won the game, yes, but unfortunately the other team had lost, so that kind of killed our hopes and killed our mojo. But again, like we took that off season, and we made an emphasis on if you're injured or anything like that, recover. So we took recovery very, very serious. Which I don't believe a lot of football players or a lot of younger athletes understand. Like recovery is a big portion of the game, So we we didn't we focused on recovery a lot and hard work and again like just had that chip on our shoulder, where like yes, it was unfortunate circumstances that we had injured, but also at the same time that gives us no excuses for not winning those games and to know that we have the guys to do it. And so that we took that off season. We in the summer we run 4 days. It's either in the morning or in the afternoon after work or before work. So we go 4 days and then we have 3 days off, which is our Wednesday and our weekends. And so, we grind with the guys, and in previous years, we weren't, yes, we were a cohesive group, but we weren't, as cohesive and we weren't as close. And so, when you're sitting there and you're grinding with the guys over the summer and you guys are wanting to put in the work, not just because you want to make yourself better, but you want to make the guys next to you better, like that changes the whole look on things. So, I mean, like, that brings us closer. So I mean, like at the end of the day, like we had the motivation of not making playoffs. We had the motivation, from being unhealthy, and like I said, we made an emphasis to get right and to focus on recovering to get your body healthy. And we did with those two things, and we of course we signed some crucial guys, but like with the help of that and just like the collective, I'm gonna say mentality of, being a dog, that's what football's comes down to. You know what I mean? Like you hit like this game you have to be a dog to play. So I'm saying our team was hungry, and we all have that dog. So we all had that mentality, and that's what really motivated us for our 2023 season. And I believe like it was shown, it was like everyone wanted it. Everyone was hungry. Everyone wasn't just barking, but we were biting, and I think that like that definitely helped us along the way.
Yeah, man, you guys really hit the ground running. 6-2, I believe, conference record, 7-3 overall. How much fun was this past season for you, man? I mean, a lot of individual success, a lot of team success. Obviously, playing with your brothers, like you mentioned, in the backfield there, sharing the backfield with Jonathan Rosary. How much fun was it out there, kind of, having a lot of success on and off the field?
Man, it was a blast. It was like honestly, I'm speechless when it comes to the season because it went by so fast. But like the experiences I had, like again with the brotherhood, it was just being able to play next to Jonathan Rosary and all the boys. Like it made it that much more fun because it was uncertain that Jonathan wasn't going to come back, just being drafted by the Blue Bombers, and it was uncertain that he was going to come back. But when he did, we were like, okay, this is a season where we're not just gonna win, but we're gonna have fun doing it. We're gonna have fun playing. And so going through that off season where we like where I previously just said where we were focused on having that dog on us, and we were having fun throughout that. But just like making you have to have football. Football has to be fun in order to win. And so when it's not fun, you don't win. So when you're playing with those guys and you're going through all those workouts in the summers and leading up to this season and in season, like when you're playing with them and you're doing all those stuff, like that's what makes it so much fun to me. And so I mean it carries on to winning. So like winning is very fun. So when you're in those games and you're hitting the ground running and you're winning, it's always fun to win. And again, with the personal accolades, that's only I mean, a glimpse of it. That's only the reflection of the other guys on the team, that push you to be better. And so, um, just this season, it was so surreal to me, just because, like, it was finally the season where it all came together, where the guys wanted to play for each other, and we all wanted to have fun doing it, and we all chased the same thing. And so it carried over to the games, and it carried over into our season. And yeah, it was just like this season, it was a blast to play with, and definitely one I won't forget.
Something that was probably sweet for you guys was, sweeping the University of Saskatchewan. Going back to 2019, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they eliminated you guys in the semifinals. If I'm not mistaken, I forget your safety's name, number 2 there, the kicker, when he hit the walk-off there in the playoffs, I believe hit him with the wave. So how nice was that for you guys to, kind of cement yourself as the, obviously you don't want to play for second place, but cement yourself as the second best team. Well, I'm sure you guys, in your mentalities, you guys feel like you were the best team, coming 1 point short of beating UBC. But how was it nice to sweep Saskatchewan this past season?
Man, it was an absolute joy. An absolute joy. It was, and the Huskies are a very good program. They have some guys over there,
especially on defense.
Oh yeah, like their defense is very, very good. They're a very strong core, and especially that linebacker group of theirs.
Yeah. Weave is nice. Yeah,
I was just about to mention him. Locking it down. Nick Weave he's the man. He's the man on that defense. And so, just like that historic program, like they're known for winning, and in the recent years, they've ran Can West. And so, it was being able to not just, play against them, but being able to, dominate, and being able to not just win, but again, like, dominate them was so much fun. Like, it's not every day you have a sweep in Can West, and unfortunately UBC can say the same to us. However, it was an absolute joy. Like, it's not every time, it's not every day, it's not every year, you get to go and you get a sweep. And, doing so was so much fun. I mean, you go into their building, and Griffin Stadium is known for how hostile it is. And so when you go into that stadium and you're able to perform at a very high level and execute at a very high level, and to showcase what you got, and to be able to dominate them, man, that was so much fun. And then, you bring it home and do the exact same thing. And it was like, the consistency of that, it's hard to come by, you know what I mean? So especially in the Can West, we're playing in the hardest conference in Canada, I believe. And so, like, every given Saturday, every given Sunday, dude, you never know with the Can West. And so, it was, especially against that team, like, it was to know that, you're beating a very good team, which is considered like preseason the best, like they were considered to go the farthest and everything like that, and to beat them, that just, like, it was, again, so much fun. And it was an absolute joy just to, not to be mean, but to kind of take their souls away, kind of take their breath away, especially on that kick, when you get that wave from Jonathan Gastini, that, he just ended you, putting you into third place, and it was cool. And, even going into playoffs, and you're beating them 40-17, like, there's no better way than to beat the best.
And I believe you had your biggest play of your career in Saskatchewan. I believe that 104-yard crazy rush, just coming up short of the taking it to the house. And then I believe as well the electric atmosphere, UBC's homecoming, I believe you had that big rushing touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. So to get back into UBC, carrying on after you guys beat Saskatchewan, you guys take on the UBC Thunderbirds in the Hardy Cup and end up losing a heartbreaker, 28-27. What was that game like for you guys to, I would imagine the highest of highs to, the lowest of lows, probably the victory right there. And then you realize probably afterwards, right, of, those fifth-year guys that you mentioned earlier, especially with Rosary, your backfield mate there, that, you're probably never going to play with a lot like some of these guys again, right? Especially, with yourself maybe potentially seeking other, teams to play on next year. Take us through the highs of that game and the lows as well.
Yeah. First of all, it's an honor to be able to play in that game, and to be considered, the top two teams. And yeah, just like going into it, everyone was level. Everyone was calm and everyone was level. We weren't too emotional, and everyone was focused. And so going into the game, we came with that collective mentality that I mentioned before of, like, we're going to come in here, we're going to play for each other, and we're just going to give 100%. And so when we did that, we were out there making plays, and it was a battle. There's a touchdown called back that was honestly crucial for us, but that I believe was when we started to get low, because it was you had to maintain focus, and that was the biggest thing in our off season, and one of our core values. You gotta be able to focus in games, and like even especially in championship games. So if you're focusing in practice, if you're focusing in off season workouts, you're gonna be focused when the game matters. And so we got a little unfocused in a few areas, and so yeah, just in that third quarter, we were doing our thing. We were on defense. We were hitting them. We were starting to physically get them, and even on offense, we were starting to break their defense down and starting to physically wear them down. With bruising them with the runs up the middle, and our passing game was flowing pretty good. And so when that touchdown got called back, I believe started to get to that point where it was like we kind of lost our focus a little bit, and that's the beginning of our downfalls. And then and then with like that fumble in the red zone, that like again came down to focus. And so that fumble was I'm gonna say it was our second biggest downfall, where we weren't focused enough, where we messed up on the mesh, and we ended up unfortunately creating a turnover. And so after that, they drove down the field and ended up capitalizing on our turnover, and drove down the field, ending our playoff hopes and ending our Vanier hopes, which is like UBC is a very good team, and if they're, again, like, I'm not gonna say that any team deserves it, but if anyone deserves, they that team was a very good team, and they're deserving of going out there and performing at the Vanier. And it was tough to lose to them, not just lose to them twice, but lose to them three times, and especially in the biggest game for us. And so I mean, like, it was tough. It was tough to see them win, especially in that way, where they drive the field in under a minute, and then just our lack of focus, and we were almost there, and it sucks because we were almost there, and the whole time this season, I was preaching, the job's not done yet, even though our teammates are winning Player of the Week and are getting nominated for All Canadian, or getting nominated for Can West All Stars, the job's not finished, and it sucks because we were almost there to finish the job, but we just couldn't quite make it. And and especially not being able to play with your brothers again, guaranteed. You know what I mean? They play on CFL roster, or they're put on CFL rosters right now, but it's not always a guarantee you're number one going to make it to that level, and it's not always a guarantee you're going to be able to play on the same team as them. And so it sucked because you see their faces for 5 years every day, and and now you go from seeing their faces every day for 5 years to not seeing their faces at all, and to see them going on and moving on, it sucks, and it sucks in that moment because you won't be able to. I'm gonna say, well, you'll never get those moments back, but you'll seriously never be able to get that moment back. You know what I mean? And like, even to think of it as a positive, it's hard because it's like, yes, like we went to the Hardy Cup, but we weren't able to celebrate, you know, and that's okay. Again, like that's part of football. You learn lessons. It's part of life at the end of the day. And so, yeah, that was probably I'm gonna say my lowest, is coming back into that locker room and, being seeing everyone's face, especially Jonathan's and Morgan Runge's, and seeing my other running back's face and seeing the quarterback's face, and it's hard, you know what I mean, and seeing all the linemen's faces in the room and seeing the people that you go to war with, and get all emotional. It's hard to see them, and that's what's hard for me, is because not only, did I come out here and fight for them, and we took on the dragon, but we couldn't quite slay it. But like, it's hard to get back into that state of vulnerability, and you're sitting here and it's okay to cry, but it's tough to see everyone else cry and go through those emotions. Alrighty.
All right, buddy. We'll pick up. And so,
Perfect.
talking about coming off the loss, I'm glad you mentioned a few different moments of lack of focus, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, other than just the fumble. Being football players, no one football game ever comes down to just one play, right? So that there's like you mentioned about the disallowed touchdown, and they had 45 seconds to go drive down the field. Somebody on defense could have made a play, so it's never just one guy. But talking about moving forward now with the program, the program's in good hands with Eli Hetlinger at quarterback. Coach Morris is obviously coming back. I really like guys like Chevy Thomas, I believe it is, a young receiver. What would you say about the future of the program? Anything to say maybe to any future recruits that are maybe watching this to maybe go to University of Alberta and really continue to grow the legacy that you've hopefully left the program in good hands?
Yeah, no, the program is definitely in good hands. Coach Morris and his crew definitely do a good job at recruiting, and the players that he's got in Eli Hetlinger and Chevy Thomas and Kobe Horford, Chase Tattern, Chase Pack, Ty Anderson, all those guys, like, man, they're dogs, and they exude everything, that the program stands for. And so they're not just that, they're dominant players. And so the program is in good hands, and especially and they're all captains, so especially them being captains, it's gonna show the younger group how to not just become better on the field, but also become better leaders on and off the field. And so especially putting in that hard work and showing the work ethic and everything like that. Yeah, and just for like any recruits, the one thing I always preach is, like, no matter where you go, always be 100% on where you're gonna go. You can't be 99.8, you can't be 99.9. Be 100% sure on where you want to go. For me, the U of A has progressed me in many aspects, not just in football. It helped me become a better person, a leader in the community, and not just that, but like in the football, or sorry, not in the football sense, but also in academically. It's like Coach Morris has it all set up academically for us, to where if you're struggling or anything, you always go to him. You can find tutors. We always get tests before we get into school. So then we receive this pamphlet to go through, like, learning disabilities or anything like that. So if you do have a learning disability, it's pointed out early, and you get it taken care of, and you get your accommodations accordingly. So yeah, and like even football wise, it was I was coming in, not the fastest, not the lightest, and pretty heavy, not the strongest. So, being able to follow along the program, and not just follow along the program, but push myself and push yourself within it, it went a long way. And, we always, we have this saying, it's buy in. So when you buy into the program, it helped me go from five flat, from running a 5 flat 40 to running 4.52 this year. So, I mean, it helped me do that. And so, so like, when you go to any school, you always got to be 100%. You always got to buy in. And, just like I said, like, be 100% sure of what you do, or where you do want to go. And when you do sign, be 100% in. That helped me a long way, and in my decision making as well. You have to be 100% in no matter what you do. So just for any recruits out there, remember that, you got to be 100% on where you go. And always look for, I forgot to mention this, always look for different things, look for what's going to give you the best schooling, because you're not only going to be playing football, you're going to go to school to get a degree. So always look for what faculty you're in, and how their faculty is, and to see if they even have to see if they even have what you want to do. Not to mention, also look at the culture of the team and what you look for in a team. Look for what you look for in a community. It goes deeper than just football. At the end of the day, that's things you want to look at. But I mean, at the end of the day, you choose wherever you want to go. If it's the U of A, if it's no matter where you go, like I said, be 100% in and enjoy the process. Take your visits, because not many people get to say they got flown across the country just for football and got treated nice and got pampered. And, not many people get a chance to say that. And so just really take in everywhere you're going and everything you're doing while you're on those trips. And especially, the way the players are treated, and the coaching staff, and the way the coaching staff works with them, and always be aware of all that, and be aware of, always be aware of, the schooling aspect, like I said, that I've mentioned previously. And always take your trips, have fun doing so, have fun during your recruiting process. Like I said, you only get to go to high school once. You only get to go through this process once. Don't stress it. It'll work out. Have fun and enjoy it, man. Enjoy it.
Very, very well said. So I'm curious now, you are, on the doorstep of the next chapter, maybe so to say, of your life here, invited to the CFL Combine. How excited are you for that process? How have you been preparing for that process? I'm not too sure if this is like illegal or not, but have any CFL teams been in contact with you as far as maybe what they want to see from you at the Combine, maybe like as far as a 40 time bench press, any sort of thing like that?
So of course we're going through our Combine preparation phase. We're trying to get down our technique. Not trying to. We're working through our technique for like our 5-10-5, our 3-cone drill, which is our L. Of course, it's our 40s are technical as well. So always trying to get down your technical steps for your 40 and your starts, and just getting stronger in the gym, working on your bench press and everything like that. So we're doing the usual, just going to the Combine prepping while working on being explosive and getting strong. I'm very excited for this next process. It's like, again, it's same thing as high school. It's not every day you get to say you got invited to the CFL Combine, and what entails with that, with the interviews and showing off your skill set. You don't get to do that every day. So, it's, of course, I'm a little nervous. You're gonna be a little nervous. If you don't, then you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Then you don't care.
Yeah, exactly. You don't care. So, I think it's a month out. I get nervous now thinking it's a month out. I gotta get my body right. Gotta make sure my body's right, and it is. Just like getting a little bit nervous, but more excited than anything. Just because, again, like I get to perform in front of all CFL scouts. I get to perform not just in front of them, but in front of the world at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And I get to meet other guys that are going through the same process. And again, football goes a lot deeper than football. It's life at the end of the day. So getting to build connections with all these other guys that are going through the same process is what I'm excited for as well. Because you never know, you could be future teammates. So it's very exciting for that. I have yet to talk to any NFL or any CFL team. Sorry. Which if they reach out, they reach out, and if not, I'll see them at the combine, and then hopefully then and there I can talk to them, and they'll be able to get a feel for my personality and get to talk to me about my game and everything like that. But and everything that they see of me and everything that I got to work on and everything like that. So yeah, no one's reached out yet. Again, month out. I'll see you guys in a month. So we'll talk then. We'll talk then.
In due time, I'm sure. In due time, it'll happen. So, Matthew, my last question before we get you out of here. First and foremost, man, I appreciate you for jumping on here. Give me, an hour and 20 minutes of your time during, busy season, school, and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure it's, Friday afternoon here when we're recording. I'm sure you're waiting to, go enjoy some, family time, friend time, whatever you got planned for the long weekend here. But like I said, man, just really appreciate you giving me some of your time talking ball. If anyone's listening here tonight to the episode that's enjoying, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, comment down below if you guys have enjoyed this episode, enjoyed hearing a little bit about Matthew's story. If there's any other maybe Canada West athletes you guys would like to hear, even comment down below if you guys would like to see Matthew on the channel again. Maybe we'll get him on maybe when he's at the combine or something like that, see how his experience is going. And then most importantly, subscribe, guys. We're at 120 subscribers, I believe, currently. Goal by the CFL season, goal by June is 150. So 30 more to go in, what is that? I believe, March, April, May, 3 months. I think that's pretty tangible, pretty reasonable. So let's get it up to 150 subscribers by June, please. And thank you. All the support is greatly appreciated, guys. So Matthew, my last question for you, buddy. Playing the running back position, being from Alberta, being from Canada, have you really kind of maybe realize the impact of others and those before you in the running back position, specifically Canadian, even in your own province with, someone like a Chuba Hubbard, someone like before you, Andrew Harris, Brady Oliveira, someone like a Jeshrin Antwi, former University of Calgary, Daniel Adeboboye, I believe another Canadian running back. Have you, maybe taken anything from those guys' games? Have you taken motivation from those guys that, they've kind of blazed somewhat of a trail of different pathways, different schools? You think of someone like Brady going down south. You think of Chuba's experience, Daniel and Jeshrin playing U Sports, and then yours as well. Have you taken anything from those guys' experience? And then does that motivate you that, I can be the next great Canadian running back? If those guys can do it, I'm from the same soil as them. I'm from the same country as them. What do you think about the generation of Canadian running backs that is starting to come up? Even Albertans, as you were mentioning, with Carter O'Donnell. We're seeing it with, I believe it's Alec O'Manor from Alberta, I believe at Stanford. He's showing out down there, doing some pretty big name things. So what could you say to, the running back position and just Canadian athletes, I guess, in general?
First of all, it was pretty cool that you just brought up Alec's name. Actually, he's from Medicine Hat, so I was able to play against him in high school and be able to go through tryouts with him. So yeah, no, he's doing his thing down there, man. It's great seeing it. But yeah, no, I was gonna mention some names that you had, like Andrew Harris, Brady Oliveira, and then Josh One as well. Yeah, just it's skill positions are in the CFL, they look towards a lot of Americans, and it's given so that they come from America. That's the birthplace of football. They come from bigger schools, a lot more resources. So it's bound to happen. But it's special to see the impact that they're making. So I'm excited to just show and hopefully prove I'm not belonging with them, but I'm in my making my own case, at the back position, and And all I really want to do, man, is just show at the end of the day is, no matter where you're from, you can always make it. Just like Chuba Hubbard did. He played for Buffasi, he went to OSU, and then now he's playing for Carolina. It's no matter where you are, you can make it. If he's able to be seen from Canada at a young age, and so are you. And if you're able to be seen in Canada at this age and at this level, like it's it mean like it means a lot, and you so and so can you. You know what I mean? If he can do it at high school, you can do it here. And so if we can do it at this level, as in those names mentioned, Andrew Harris, Joshua, Chuba, all of them, if they're able to do it at this level, you can do it at so can you. And so I'm just here, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to show that, I can play ball, and I can run fast, and not just run fast, but run through you, and and show I'm a strong runner. But I'm also here to prove a point that it's Canadians can ball too. You know what I mean? And you can be from America, and you can go to the Division I schools and all that, but Canadians can ball too. And especially in the running back position, you know what I mean, and in skill positions, and you see it all the time. Like, you see Canadians go into the league and they stick, and it's starting to become at a I'm gonna say at a much higher rate that we're sticking now. So it's cool to see that. But I'm just here to prove a point. And those guys motivate me. The names that we mentioned, those guys motivate me. To see the way they run the ball at that level, and the way that they carry themselves at that level, and as a Canadian, that motivates me. But I'm here to do the same as they were. I'm here to prove a point that just because you're an American, Canadians can tote the rock just as well. And hopefully I get a chance to knock on the doors at the highest level, and go to the NFL and stuff like that. That would be a dream come true, and that's always a goal of mine. But yeah, just be able to show that no matter where you're from, no matter where you're at, you can always be seen as long as you put in the work, and as long as you work your butt off, and you grind with your head down and no noise. Shoot, like you can make it anywhere, man, and they will see you. And so my point here is just to do my thing, have fun, having those guys motivate me throughout this process, and have fun balling and showing that Canadians have it just as well as Americans do. So that's what I'm excited for.
Damn right, buddy. We coming, that's for sure. That's why I wanted to kind of shift the podcast a little bit, right, and showcase the Canadian ballers and kind of their journey, their stories, their experiences, because it's too kept under the rug, too quiet for up here, and some of these ballers that are around, because their stories need to be heard and told. So I appreciate you jumping on here today. Like I said, everybody that's listening, if you guys enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. When you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell. You guys will get notified every time we upload, go live. As of now, Blake and I will be live. Nothing official, but we will be live during the combine at some point. Who knows? Maybe we'll even have maybe boots on the ground. Matthew Peterson drop by and share with us maybe his experience or something like that. But Matthew, thank you so much. Like I said, wishing you the best of luck in this next phase of your life, next chapter. You got a fan in us here at the Canadian Football Fanatics, and we'll be rooting you on in the next phase, like I mentioned. Appreciate everybody once again for tuning in, supporting the podcast. We will catch you guys in the next episode of Canadian Football Fanatics.